Jesse, your perspective on this topic, I have been wanting to get for a long time. Because when we see it, everybody's thinking it, but nobody says it. But we see it, and we know that bad marketing sucks.
Yep.
So give me a few examples of some of the things that you've seen that you look at and you're like, oh my gosh, that sucks.
So I wouldn't even give you a few examples. I'd probably go on a limb and say 98% of marketing out there pretty much sucks. I mean, and it's, I watch, you ever see that documentary, Art and Copy?
No, I haven't.
Okay, great documentary, and there's a woman in the documentary, I don't remember her name, but she says, out of all the marketing that gets created, nobody in a single boardroom ever stands up and says, this thing has gotten to a point where we're saying nothing. It's just watered down white noise. We cut off all the sharp edges, and we've gotten to a point where we're not saying anything. We're just, kind of blending in. And most of the people I work with, they all start off with the greatest of intentions. They're like, take me to the edge. Let's do something different. And then they just really want to kind of look over the edge and go back to safety. So, I see that. You asked me to give you examples. The problem is you can't remember them because nothing really stands out. You have to be really bad for it to even register as okay. That's an example of horrible marketing. My interpretation of horrible marketing is just white noise that you probably started out with the best of intentions.
Never got there. Right.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
No,
never did.
And single thing your product does.
Yeah, so I remember there was a Super Bowl commercial maybe 2 years ago. I think it was, I don't remember the brand, but I think it was for oat milk. But I think that was one of those, they probably thought it was really good. But nobody stood up who was thinking is like, this is going to fall really flat on a really, really big stage. And we should probably change something up. But nobody ever steps up and says that.
Yeah.
They write it out.
So
they write
terrible.
it out.
I mean, they do write it out. Now, what amazes me is that nobody's immune to it. You've got the smallest of businesses all the way up to the biggest businesses that spend money on Super Bowl commercials, which the production costs more than to run the spot.
Yep.
So no one's immune to it. So you have really taken on a maybe a personal challenge, but also something I think is pretty cool to really stop this insanity of sucky marketing. What have you done? Because it's awesome.
So thank you. Through our work in the boot camp, figuring out what we really like to do. One of the things I figured out that was the most rewarding in my career was taking something. Usually, it ends up better if the original something is really boring. We say it's commoditized, right? And who cares? Which product I use, whatever's the cheapest, and just completely take it to the other end of the spectrum and make it decommoditized, where it's like, oh, have you seen these guys? They're absolutely out there as far as a persona goes. So you helped me with the tagline. We help brands desperate for distinction, right? So
yeah,
you can go into the race to the bottom and cut your prices and see how that lends you. Or I admit it takes some courage. Take some courage and put it out there. Probably alienate some people in your audience, but at the same time you'll bolster up the fans and create a real persona for your product or service.
But were they really part of your audience if they're alienated?
Right.
I mean, I think that's a big fear that we have is like, well, what about them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, them may not be, they may never have been your audience, but you're so concerned about pleasing the masses that you don't do anything meaningful.
Yep. Yeah, I mean the flag, the tent pole, I can't take credit for this, but the example we use in a lot of client discovery sessions is, I don't know if you're familiar with liquid death. So it's water, it's bottled water aimed at heavy metal guys, right? So it looks like a tall boy, And the owner said, look, every single bottled water out there basically looks like it's a yoga accessory, right? It's
Yeah.
designed to appeal to the yoga, the yoga people. Let's go the complete other direction, and you're never going to get the yoga people. It's got
Nope.
the death metal and the crazy font. You're going to get rabid fans, and I think their Twitter handle is, we're the first water brand to ever have someone tattoo our brand on their skin. Like we're the
And
first
it's just
one.
plain water? Does it have any minerals, vitamins? Just water.
Just plain water. Just water. They did last year. Last year they did 50 million in sales, but because the brand and the fans are so loyal, they were valued at $500 million. So they're 10x sale just based on, and the owner says it's 90% punchline, but it's a punchline that he gets to
good
take to the
tap water.
bank. So
Yeah, good job.
yep, yep.
That is hilarious. I got to look that up. So I've got a tattoo of basically a
Pretty much.
different type of bottle.
That's what it sounds like. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
That's pretty epic. All right, so when is the first tattoo of the Supervillain Awards coming?
So hopefully soon. I have a book coming out. I don't know if I told you, but we have the first book called Marketing for Supervillains.
Yeah.
It should be out relatively soon. I hired a world-renowned editor, and I had nothing to do with it, but unfortunately he passed away mid editing.
No.
So we got a little bit of a gap in production, but coming out soon. Can't wait, and that'll launch. I got a whole bunch of goodies planned for kind of creating the marketing supervillain universe online.
Yeah, so you've done some work already in this creation. So if I've seen, what have I seen? Some statues you've already got ready, some awards you've already got ready.
Yeah, so again, just kind of like Blair and David say, it's not perfect, but it's perfectible, right? So I'm out there, figuring this thing out. So I did my origin story, right? So every supervillain has an origin story. So what made me, so weird with my weird background? What actually caused that? And then in season 2, I took it and did kind of like an Academy Award for other marketing supervillains. So I granted awards for marketers throughout the course of history that have achieved marketing supervillainism.
That's awesome. When I saw it, I was like, you know what? I want a supervillain award, but I might be too nice. I might not be edgy enough to get a supervillain award. So I was trying to think, it's like, what supervillain maybe has that, maybe a little edge, but it's not quite too far out there. Maybe I'll get that supervillain award from you.
So here's the deal. I mean, there's a lot of similarities with villains and the people that market like supervillains, and one of them is there's marketing superheroes out there, the big brands, and just like regular superheroes, they have big muscles, they got deep pockets, they got the public behind them. And for guys like us that are kind of like the marketing supervillains, we don't have the deep pockets, we don't have all the tools, so we got to
outside of the box.
We got to think smart. Right. We got to use our brains as opposed to all the tools that the superheroes have. So you can fall back on that if you want. You don't have to necessarily blow up a hospital. You can
Sweet. All right.
Just rely on.
Hold on. Let me take that off my list.
Yeah, cutting
right,
out of the box. Cutting out of the box thinking and your maniacal laugh will get you an award.
Excellent. All right, so here's the kicker. It's out there. I agree with your number. 95% of all marketing sucks, and not in like a malicious way. Like, we don't say that to be mean. We say that more out of compassion. To like, guys, just take a breath, and before you put this out into the world,
revisit it.
Have someone other than your mom look at it.
And even
in
agencies, don't even have
so,
that. Sometimes you got to get away from that. They're the worst.
Oh,
They're the
gosh.
worst.
Yeah. And I think that the traditional, there's enough of the traditional agencies still around that are
Cookie
not,
cutters. Yeah. No, not
they're
at
not challenging anything. All right, so Jesse, so what is it like? What is your checklist or do you have a checklist? What would you tell somebody like you're sitting down having that discovery meeting? Is like, this is how we're going to make sure that this stuff doesn't suck. What's a helpful tool or thought process?
So we kind of joked about it before, but before I even alluded to the liquid death examples, I say, I bring what is a brand, doesn't have to be related to your business, that you feel some alignment with, right? you actually will them to succeed, and you're not financially invested in the company at all, but you want them to succeed. What does that feel like? And what would that have to feel like for one of your customers to actually feel so strongly about your brand that they'll get a tattoo of it on their body? And if you want to take a step back, what would make them wear your t-shirt without you asking them? Like, sure, everyone wants a free t-shirt, but are they going to wear it the second day? Everyone gets a free t-shirt, they put it on, but why would they put it on voluntarily?
Yeah.
What is that, what would that feel like? What do you want that client to feel? And if it's just, we got great customer service and our testimonials are great and we're cheaper than the other guy, I'm not wearing that shirt.
No, not at all. And I think that customer service is almost not a distinction anymore. Because who's going to not say we got great customer service?
Yep.
Even if it's the worst customer service ever.
It's cliche.
It's also the
cliche.
satisfaction guarantee. Well, yeah, it just doesn't mean anything anymore. But, you delight somebody. So I've said this before, and a lot of people might not like this, at least in the South. The Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich is not an award-winning chicken sandwich. However, their customer service and their experience and their brand and the delivery and execution of that makes that chicken sandwich that makes people cry on Sundays because you cannot. I mean, even Ben Rector and Snoop Dogg wrote a song that includes Chick-fil-A closed on a Sunday. I mean, that's a brand right there.
It is. And they do very little marketing, by the way.
Yeah.
If you've noticed.
Yeah. It's very straightforward. So, what is a favorite brand that you like, Jesse, that does that well?
So a lot of brands, I'm like, from my rebellious teenage years, they're all like the punk bands and like the outsider, the outsider brands. So one of them that just will not die. I don't know if you're a fan of professional wrestling.
I'm not, but I know a lot of people are.
So there was this brand called ECW,
I was a
Extreme
big
Championship
fan.
Wrestling. It was an
Sandman?
Nice, nice. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And people to this day still chant ECW, even though it's not around anymore, right? They'll go to a WWF show, and when something crazy happens, they'll chant ECW, just as kind of like an homage to like these guys differentiated themselves enough in a crowded space that we still remember and we're still passionately chanting.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, it went away. I mean, it just stopped. I mean, I remember, there was a Taz. Remember Taz? Okay.
Taz, he's still around.
They had the ladders in the ring. Some guy used to split beer cans on his head, if you recall.
Yeah,
okay.
Sandman.
And then they had a little short guy with huge legs that would come out with boots on. Was that Taz? No. Kind of a. Okay.
That's
yeah.
Taz,
That was. I think that was on. That was what, mid '90s, late '90s, '96, '98.
Yeah, late '90s.
That was good stuff.
Yep.
I miss it.
Yep.
I do.
That was good stuff.
It was cutting edge.
Yep,
Let's say that.
Well, at least it.
Cutting edge. The little brand that took on the big guys just by doing something different, and again, alienating a lot of the audience, but appealing to those passionate fans. Made a name for themselves. Still around. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, other than the book, what big projects have you got coming up? Are you just wait a second? I wanted to ask you this. The float that you just built. Tell me about that. That thing was sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, in the opposite of what Blair and David preached to us, my client needed a float, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, right? So we try to like niche down. There's riches and niches, but I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So I am like a frustrated filmmaker on the side. So I have a history of making props and horror movies and all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, it's got to be like a creepy treasure chest. We're gonna pop a mermaid on top. So built this big treasure chest for the Mermaid Parade in Coney Island. They had about 100,000 people in attendance, and we had our spokeswoman, who's our mermaid, pop up on top, and I drove it through Coney Island in my Jeep, and we started a big treasure hunt with free giveaway treasure maps. So kind of multimedia, multifaceted. It was a stressful couple of weeks getting that off the ground, but
I bet so. Now, is that for a distillery?
Yep.
Very cool. And they're located in
So
right,
the
right
name,
around the area.
yeah, the name of it is Montauk Distilling. So Montauk
Okay.
is like where Jaws was supposed to, in fictional land. That's where it took place. And they're located a little bit west of Montauk. So even though they're not in Montauk, they're called Montauk Distilling Company.
Okay.
Very nice. How long did it take you to make that whole thing?
Not long. It was just, a lot of trips to Home Depot. So that was probably most of it. But yeah, a week or two wasn't too bad. Had to keep ordering gold coins, little plastic gold coins from Amazon. So I had to wait for the Amazon man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah. So just to be clear, anybody listening, that is not your full-time gig. That is your guilty entertainment, right?
Not a core efficiency, but just took it on because I thought it sounded fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it fits the distinction, the supervillain vibe, because it was pretty elaborate.
Thank you.
Now, I need to get some links from you so I can share it with everybody because it is pretty sweet. I was pretty impressed.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, all right, man. Well, listen. So, what is the one thing that you would tell somebody that came to you and said, Jesse, God, I need help not sucking? Hit me with it.
So, first thing we do is we identify your authenticity, right? So, going back to Blair's boot camp, not always easy to discover, what you're authentically, passionate about. And if you can align that up with your professional services, you got a huge leg up. One of the mistakes I made after Blair was I found a great niche, huge amount of money, great solution to a problem they had, but I just didn't care. Like writing a blog about it was homework.
Yeah.
I hated it. So, going back to Blair, he says, a couple of years from now, they're going to say, up next, our keynote speaker, the foremost expert on blank.
Yeah.
What do you want to be there? So if you can align that with your true authenticity and kind of lace it into your business, and it doesn't have to be completely parallel, right? Comic books and marketing, they don't really go together, but if you're passionate about it, you might be able to find a way. So first place to look is your inner authenticity.
Yeah, and then how do we bring that to bear once we identify that?
It's a long road. We have a process that we built called the universe of differentiation. So it's a basic universe of 11 planets of the biggest 11 ways big brands have successfully differentiated themselves, and we find the top 3 areas of opportunity, and then we kind of what feels right, what has the most authenticity to you. We don't want to bring fakeness to the market. So again, and once we get the client on board that they're truly authentic, then they start letting the reins go a little bit. They're not so scared to put themselves or their true selves, what they stand for, out into the marketplace. So we get a little bit of the guardrails loosening up a little bit. We get to do some fun stuff.
Nice, very cool, man. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us and sharing. I can't wait to see the book. When is the book coming out? Give me a ballpark.
So the editor said I will have it no later than July 1st. So that's 2 days.
Wow.
Oh man, so we're close.
We're close. So I'm hoping he's not a deadline misser, but you'll be the first to know as soon as I get it. I have a fake copy here. We got marketing for supervillains.
Yes, and
Love it.
yes.
Love it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, when that hits the shelves or pre-order or whatever, I mean, can we pre-order that sucker?
Soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna have 3 tiers. One of them is ill-timed, but let you guys know that the top tier, there's only one available. It's $50,000. You get an autographed book and a weekend with me in a real nuclear submarine to plan your marketing campaign.
That sounds great.
So,
We're going to check the Titanic out in the
That's
process.
awesome.
yeah, that's what I say. It's a little ill-timed, but hey.
But you promised
Oh, my
success, right?
goodness. All right, man. That is awesome. That is epic. All right, I can't think of a better place to stop than right there. So
Thanks, boys.
we'll see you. All right, until then, let's just make sure that this marketing,
Absolutely.
doesn't
Nice
suck.
to meet you, Jesse.
You got it.
All right, boys.
Nice to
good
meet
day.
you. Take care, boys.